This is the first of the two meetings. Does anybody have a declaration of interest or general nature thereof they'd like to declare? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the purpose of the meeting. 3.1 T-2022-003 proposed new tower at 1492 County Road 32. I'll read the public meeting introduction before we get started. Personal information collected at this public hearing is collected under the authority of the Planning Act and will be used to assist in making a decision on this matter. All names, addresses, opinions, and comments are collected and form part of the minutes which are available to the public. Questions regarding this collection should be forwarded to the Director of Planning. The purpose of public meetings is to present applications in a public forum. Following presentations by applicant or staff, council members will be afforded an opportunity to ask questions for clarification or further information. The meeting will then be open to the public for comments and questions. When you speak, please provide your name and address for recording in the minutes. All comments should be directed to the chair of the meeting and pertain to the items on the agenda. The applicant will be provided the opportunity to address public questions once all members of the public have made their submissions. If a person or public body would have the ability to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, but the person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the township before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision. Okay, so we'll move forward with proposed new tower at 1492 County Road 32. Madam Planner.
Thank you. Through you. This is an application for public meeting, or this is a public meeting for a proposed cell tower at 1492 County Road 32. Notice of this application was circulated in accordance with the communications tower protocol. So notice was mailed out to all property owners within 3 times the height of the tower, published in a local newspaper, and signage was placed on the property. To date, there have been no inquiries from the public with respect to this application. Comments have been received from the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville with respect to the proposed location of the tower, asking that it be set back further if possible. The applicant has indicated that they will work with their surveyor to see if that is possible and is working with the county regarding this. I would note that the applicant is on the phone and on the meeting, and is prepared to provide an overview of the application.
Thank you very much, Madam Planner. Are there any questions from the members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Director of Planning, right out of my head. Just what you know. Anyways, when you open your statement, you said Bell, but it's a Rogers Tower, correct? Yes, and the setback that the county is requiring, opposed to what they have proposed, is how much more?
The county is asking that the tower be set back the same height as the tower.
Oh, so if it comes over, it's
yes,
clear of the highway. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Foti.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to our Director of Planning. Along with the Councillor Maybe's comments, I assume that setback could be easily related to what was Tower Road out here. That would be a reasonable request to have it set back. I was thinking when I was reading through this, do we put any timelines on there, or has the applicant put any timelines on to when to build these towers? We've approved a few towers yet, and there's been very little activity for building them.
Through Your Worship, I defer to the applicant who is on the line to respond to that question.
Okay, so we have
Evans.
Sorry,
I think her name is
Letitia Evans.
Yes.
Okay, Letitia, do you have any comments in regards to timelines?
Good evening.
We can hear you. Yep.
Oh. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to present our proposal. And regarding to the council Terry question, usually constructions start within 6 months after municipal concurrence has been granted, and that's the timeline for this one. Timelines can change depending on the arrival of the tower or any construction matters. But this one is being scheduled to be built within 6 months.
Within 6 months. Okay, that would be faster than the ones we previously approved. Follow up, Councillor Cody and then Councillor Grow.
Thank you. Yes, I'm just wondering, for no particular reason, not this tower per se, if we shouldn't put a definitive deadline. Because I'm thinking if this leaves an open concept and never gets built and then comes back to a council or residents 15 years from now, for instance, and all of a sudden Rogers moves in and starts building a tower where it's not wanted at that time. That's where I'm coming from here.
Through your worship, we don't have authority to, this is a letter of concurrence that's being requested. So the actual approval is not through the council. With respect to the timeline, all of that would fall under all of the other approvals that are required to be obtained with respect to this. If we get other proposals for towers within a similar area, we could look at finding out more about what's happened with other towers that may not have been built at that point in time. But given some of the variabilities in supply and other things at this point in time, I'm not sure what would be a realistic time frame if we were proposing to put a time frame. And based on the previous tower proposals that we've looked at, there might be some concerns with putting restrictions or requirements that could possibly constrain it. But I do note that the applicant has their hand up and may have something further to add to that.
I'll recognize Letitia. Go ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So I just wanted to say that this project is part of the ADJOURN, so the Eastern Ontario Regional Network. So it is likely that will get built as soon as possible. And also like to mention that once concurrence is granted, ISED gives 3 years to build the tower. So if the tower is not built within 3 years, the concurrence is, let's say, expired. We cannot build after those 3 years.
Okay, thank you for the
Fair enough.
clarity.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Grow.
Thank you. And through you, your worship, reading on your proposal here, why is this installation needed? It states 2 primary reasons. 1, cellular. 2, internet coverage for rural areas. In our and then you have just stated that this is under the ADJOURN project, which was only cellular. So can you justify to me the statement that it includes internet coverage? Because to me that requires that is suggesting broadband, and it has been made clear to us, unless there is a change in policy here, that the ADJOURN is clearly cellular, and the executives from Rogers some time ago have told county council that there is no broadband attached to this project. Yet consistently, those words are used in these justifications. Is there any broadband being suggested by this 300-foot tower?
Go ahead, Letitia.
Through your worship, no, it's mainly cellular at this point, but we mentioned because there will be space available for any internet provider if they will come. I am not quite sure how it works, if they would like to come because it's a ADJOURN project, but we mentioned just because there will be space available on the tower for co-location.
Okay, so just for clarification, if I was to talk to my residents, I can clearly say that these towers that Rogers is putting in are for cellular purposes only when it comes to Rogers. However, these towers can be rented, leased, whatever, by any ISP to provide broadband. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any further comments or questions in regard to this application? I don't see any hands up around the table. Do we have any individuals that are on the call that have any comments or questions about this application? I see no hands up. So with no further comments or questions, oh, Sorry. I didn't see anybody in the gallery put their hand up, so I'm assuming that nobody wants to weigh in on this one. Okay. I don't believe their hands up. So so the motion to adjourn comes from Counselor Maybe and seconded by Counselor Jameson, that the public meeting adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? And we're carried. Okay, so that's the first public meeting. Second public meeting, as I'm going to call that meeting to order at 6:10 PM and ask for any declaration of interest or general nature thereof. Any interest to declare? Seeing none, I'll move forward with the purpose of meeting, which is 3.1. I won't read the public meeting introduction again. The majority of the individuals were on this call earlier, so it's the standard procedure we have for all of our planning meetings. This is in regards to zoning bylaw amendment application D14-2022-016 Maudler Gray Huskinson at 713 Burns Lane, GWA-715 Burns Lane. Madam Planner.
Thank you. Through you, this is a public meeting with respect to the properties at 713 and 715 Burns Lane. This is an application to rezone the properties as a condition of consent approval for lot addition. On the screen, I have an image showing the properties and showing the proposed severances that have been provisionally approved by the county. The purpose of the lot addition applications is to sever a portion of the property at 713 Burns Lane to add to 715. The purpose of the application for lot addition was to correct an encroachment. You can see the encroachment of the cottage across the property line on the image on the screen. So the area in red is being added to 713 Burns Lane, or sorry, 715 Burns Lane. The area in blue at the top is a property swap. So the area shown in blue is being severed from 715 to be added to 713. So the consent applications were a lot line adjustment for a technical adjustment of the lot lines to remedy an encroachment. Because the property at 713 Burns Lane is an existing undersized lot of record, and the lot addition is reducing the lot, but also adding some property at the top. Site-specific provisions will be added to recognize the lot area of the property to ensure that it complies with zoning following the lot line readjustment. For 715 Burns Lane, site-specific provisions will be introduced to recognize the lot area and frontage, as well as the side yard setback that's resulting with the modified property line with the property being transferred. So this is quite technical in nature to address a lot line readjustment. Notice was provided in accordance with the Planning Act by mailed out notice to all property owners within 120 meters of the properties. No input was received with respect to the application through that process, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Councillor Gorell.
Looks pretty straightforward. I did notice that the lot size, I guess the one on the right would be 713. And so are they giving up some waterfront?
I'm sorry, 715 is giving up some waterfront to 713.
I'm sorry, yeah, 713 is gaining some waterfront.
713 is gaining some waterfront,
Okay.
yes.
And would that have any material impact on their marine facilities?
The only impact is going to be a site-specific provision that'll need to be introduced to reduce the side yard setback from what was originally the setback to the lot line to the setback as shown in the area on the sketch. Sorry, it's small, you can't see it, but it's less than the 4.6 meters required based on the resulting lot line. So a site-specific provision is proposed to address that.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions in regards to this application from council? I don't see any hands up, so we'll go to the gallery and to the attendees. Is there anybody who are attending online that would like to ask a question? If so, please raise your hand and we will unmute you. There's no hands up at this point. I'll ask the gallery here if anybody has a comment or a question. There's no comments or questions from the gallery. Okay. Seeing none, we'll put the motion on the floor to adjourn this public meeting, moved by Counselor Jameson, seconded by Counselor Maybe, that the public meeting adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed?